You follow your guide out of the village and onto the open steppe. The blank, snowy canvas, which seems to stretch to infinity before you, gives you mixed feelings. On the one hand, it makes you recollect challenging the wasteland 2 years ago near Krasnoznameni. On the other, your time roaming Trudograd's narrow and twisty streets has left you with an anxiety bordering on agoraphobia at the sight of this vast and pitiless vista. Shivering from the chill, the gravedigger moves towards the black grove looming on the horizon. This is where you will find the treasure of Professor Goryachev. It looks like quite a hike. Maybe you should find a way to pass the time. You pat the old gravedigger on the shoulder and he speaks without slowing down.
In the summer, I can reach this place in 15 minutes or less at a walking pace. But with the snow this deep, it might take me half an hour or so.
He sniffs loudly and spits to one side.
But even if you get worn out, the grove isn't dangerous. There's no animals, only the occasional grave robber. But they're quiet, furtive bastards. Only someone too cowardly to rob the living would stoop so low as to rob the dead.
The gravedigger complains about thieves and reprobates for a few more minutes, after which he starts lecturing you about the glorious warm season. He doesn't stop until you reach your destination, a lonely copse of trees in the middle of the steppe. Silence reigns in this lonely harbor, where the tall tree trunks deny the raging wind access to the sleepy shelter within. Before you've even taken a step, the gravedigger speaks up.
The going will be much easier from here. Snow isn't deep, and the trees keep out most of the wind.
He surveys the grove closely.
Just don't get distracted, all right? Stick to my path. These parts are generally safe, but the sooner we get back home, the better. And mine's gonna be the quickest route to our destination.
The gravedigger shrugs.
My nerves are not what they used to be. But don't get worried over nothing. I come here regularly, both on my own and with other folks. Just don't let yourself get distracted and all will be well.
You loop between tree trunks and gravestones protruding from the snow. Suddenly, your guide halts, so you almost stumble into him.
Hold up. There's someone there,
he says in a tense whisper, and points to a linden tree near the path. More precisely, he points out a dark silhouette, partially hidden behind the massive trunk, watching you. What makes you especially uneasy is that the enigmatic stranger isn't standing in the snow like you, but is 3 meters up, clinging to an ice-rimmed branch. Despite the figure's distance, your inspection yields some new information. No steam of breath comes from its mouth, assuming it breathes at all, that is. You look like you saw something. I can't see anything from this far, Blaze mumbles helplessly. You throw a snowball at the mysterious observer, but miss. Still, your missile lands in the crown of the tree and releases a mini avalanche from the upper branches. When the snow is settled again, you're surprised to note that the silhouette hasn't budged. Indeed, the strange fellow didn't even brush the snow from his face. An unexpected reaction, or lack thereof, to be more precise. You carefully scurry from bush to bush until you're directly in front of the tree where the mysterious person is perched. You crane your neck back, and the man in the tree is dead. He's frozen in place, hands fixed to the branches flanking him as he stares into the thicket with a grimace of horror that will remain on his face until spring. Against your will, your mind begins to wonder what evil force drove this poor fellow to such a tortured death. Your elderly guide crosses himself and carefully examines the frozen corpse.
Sapper's spade. Crowbar too. That feller there, he's a marauder, sure as sugar. A grave robber, you get me? Gotta wonder what spooked him so bad that he decided to freeze to death, though.
After a few sharp tugs, you realize the only way to get him unstuck from the tree is piece by piece. However, like a weird consolation prize for Madame Fortune, a handful of coin pours from the dead man's torn breast pocket, which came open thanks to your efforts. The copper rain is followed by a few banknotes as well. Once you've collected the 120 rubles, you decide it's... Trying not to think about the fate of the frozen man, you've walked another 20 meters before you come across a tent pitched alongside the path, almost hidden by fallen snow. It looks like it's been abandoned for some time. One panel is ripped open, its jagged edges flutter sluggishly in the burgeoning wind. The gravedigger shakes his head.
Just ignore it. There's a blizzard coming and we don't have time.
Briefly distracted from your quest for the keycard, you cautiously approach the abandoned camp. A few suspicious details immediately catch your eye. A tattered duffel bag, a stack of empty cans, and the remnants of a couple of tools half hidden in the snow. You examine the tattered duffel bag. The side pocket in which hikers usually carry food and bottled water has been shredded, as if someone searched inside it not with hands, but a pair of serrated Bowie knives. The smaller pockets have been left untouched. You even find 50 rubles in one, and some Kasperermit pills in another. You carefully lift the flap of torn canvas and look into the toilet interior. What you find is less than exhilarating. A sleeping bag, a broken lantern, and a few partially eaten carrots. It seems the tent's owner was chased away during a meal. You're about to leave the destroyed tent when your eyes light on a tiny object in the far corner. On closer inspection, it turns out to be a figurine made of straw, resembling a stylized bowl. Without really understanding why, you tuck the toy away in your backpack. You're moving to examine the scattered tools when a spatter of snowflakes hits your cheek. Then another, and another. It looks like a blizzard is kicked up and is getting close to the grove. It will be difficult enough to dig in the frozen ground without a snowstorm battering you. You need to hurry. After giving the ruined camp a final glance, you return to the trail. Deciding not to waste any more time on the tent, you continue on your journey. Your guide's mood seems to have improved somewhat.
We're almost at this grave of yours now. It's just beyond that hillock.
The elderly fellow apparently doesn't realize that he's here to exhume a corpse, not honor its eternal memory in your company. You're thinking how best to convey this difficult information when an unnaturally low, hoarse roar stops you in your tracks. Something rushes out at you from the shadows betwixt the darkened trees. In all your time in the wasteland, you've never seen anything like it. Puffing out its chest and hairy, drooping cheeks, something like a tall, skinny gorilla is loping towards you. That is, if gorillas had dirty white fur, jagged tusks, dimly glowing cat's eyes, and spiraling horns like a ram. Completely silent, which makes it even creepier, the creature shambles right on up to you, then turns to your elderly guide, the gravedigger. Fixed in the mutant's glowing gaze, the old man's mouth hangs open a bit, and he freezes as if hypnotized. Meanwhile, Hexogen attracts your attention and whispers,
Do not panic. That thing would have eaten us already if that was his intention. I'm sure he's here to beg for booze money. But don't give him a single ruble, child. Tell him to get a job.
Gathering all your will to survive in a single punch, you jump into the air with a wordless shout and stun the overgrown gorilla with a crushing blow to the jaw. A hit like that would likely kill or at least cripple a human being. The mutant, however, merely flinches and howls in outrage, after which he raises his paw for an equally violent counterattack. The monster's weighty paw descends right at you, but the blow never connects. Instead, the horned cousin of the legendary Yeti pats your backpack and coughs delicately as it presents its other paw, leathery palm up. He apparently expects you to put something in it. A whole series of guesses and conjectures sweep through your overworked mind. What could a creature like this want from you? It's unlikely to be money or weapons, but what about that straw figure of a bull that you picked up from the tent? As if reading your mind, the mutant begins to moo in a quite decent imitation of a cow. With amazing dexterity, the monster snatches up the straw figure and retreats into the thicket. All this time, the horrid mutant was searching the snow-covered steep not for a victim, but for a useless bull figure, which must have some sentimental value.
Can we move on? Please.
The old gravedigger softly pleads. He doesn't look good. Meeting that monster has made a strong and not positive impression on his sanity. Lead-colored clouds are gathering above, and the snow is falling in thick gusts, threatening to cover the retreating monster's tracks. Soon, the landmarks you've been following will also be obscured. You will yourself to set aside the bizarre scene you just witnessed. It's high time you moved on. Cresting the hillock, you find a shallow glen. In the middle of this space, a shoddily lacquered cross protrudes from a snowdrift. Marina Goryacheva. She died as she lived, remembered by few. You read the text on a laminated plaque. The old professor is many things, but romantic is obviously not one of them.
Well, here we are. I'll give you some space to pay your respects or whatever,
Says the gravedigger when he catches up to you.
The professor warned me someone would ask to lead them here one day. The hell is wrong with you?
The old man mutters, taking 3 steps back.
I never agreed to anything like that. It's a terrible sin to violate someone's resting place.
The gravedigger shakes his head and even cups his hands over his ears, pretending to ignore you. But you bombard him with facts about the impending cataclysm, and after a few minutes he's listening with his mouth hanging open.
God's below. But if that comet really does hit the Earth, where will me and my missus live? In the tumultuous caverns of Uranus?
With another sad shake of his head, the defeated old man starts digging. Little by little, he hacks away the frozen soil. The hole grows a bit deeper, and a bit deeper still. He's panting and sweating profusely when a dirt yellow something appears at the bottom of the pit. With a joy you never expected to feel at the sight of rotten wood, you realize you've reached the coffin. Now, you just need to open it. You instinctively flinch back as the lid comes free, but no fetid miasma rises from the coffin. All you find is a desiccated skeleton, still clothed in rags stiff with cold. But not everything in the box is withered and freeze-dried. Wrapped in several layers of cellophane and adhesive tape, you see a magnetic keycard marked with the inverter logo. Tucking the keycard safely away in a secret pocket, you suppress a sigh of relief. It's not time to relax just yet. You still have a couple hours work ahead of you restoring Mrs. Goryacheva's resting place. Only after paying a last tribute to the keeper of the key do you set off, muscles aching and breath nearly spent. The blizzard passed as unexpectedly as it started, so you make for the gloomy high-rises of Trudograd, clearly visible on the horizon.